Hello there, I'm Fernanda Paiva and I am back with insights about the lunations to create that life that you want to live. So today we're going to be talking about the new moon, and it's a new moon eclipse. So this is very, very important. It is the beginning of eclipse season, the first eclipse season of 2026, and it's a new moon at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So that's going to be happening on the 17th of February. And again, this may vary depending on where you are in the world. But 17th of February is also, synchronistically, is also the beginning of the Chinese New Year. So we have a big transition during this day, on this day, and is reflected in different practices or different currents of thought as well. And I think, anyone that follows me, that follows my work, that when the message is important, it will be repeated again and again through symbolism. And for me, that's a repetition of message. It's a repetition of a story here, talking about transition, transformation, change of energy, change of gears. All right, it's definitely a new beginning on steroids. And that's the feeling I have with this new moon. And that's, the energy with the Chinese New Year as well, moving to the fire horse. And again, that energy really shifting. And obviously, the shift from 25 to this year, going from an year 9 in numerology in 25 to a year 10, which then gets reduced to 1, and the feeling of new beginnings that are running highly, like very, very strongly in this year as well. So, okay, all of that to say, powerful new beginning with this new moon eclipse, the kickstart of eclipse season. And we're going to talk about, as usual, first, the Sabian symbol. So what is the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Aquarius? Then we're going to talk a little bit about the aspects. What aspects do I see in the chart of this new moon that's relevant, that's worth mentioning? And we can also think and brainstorm a little bit on the imagery of the tarot cards as well. So the tarot cards that are associated with 28 degrees Aquarius in general, and what we can get from that image. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be doing today. And all right, so let's go. So Sabian symbol, again, like I was saying, when something is important, when the message is important, it will be written all over the place. And I love the Sabian symbol for this new moon eclipse. I think it's very, very fitting. Very fitting to the fact that obviously it's a new moon, but it's also eclipse, and it's also on the day of the new year. The transition, the start of a new Chinese year as well, and all of that. And the imagery for the 28th degree of Aquarius is a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. How obvious, it's almost like the most obvious, powerful image for transformation, for rebirth, for emerging from our cocoons, right? A butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. I don't know if I'm saying chrysalis correctly, but you get the gist, you get the imagery there. So a lot of the keywords here are obviously growing, transforming, becoming, getting in touch with bigger and better potentials, right? It reminds me a little bit of that saying as well. To turn into a butterfly, we have to be willing to let go of being a caterpillar. So that will to let the caterpillar shape go is also represented here and connected to this new moon eclipse as well. And the feeling of coming out of a cocoon is also very much there. You know, the new year officially, you know, 31st of December, 1st of January, we have that transition, is 2026. But astrologically speaking, the new year will be with the sun's ingress to Aries. And more than that, not just the sun moving to Aries, but in March, from, you know, the 21st of March, around that time, we're going to have all the planets moving direct. So we are still in a cocoon. And I think this new moon eclipse, this sort of imagery of like finally beginning to come out of that cocoon, really fits as well to the general astrological energies, because we will have Mercury going retrograde, you know, shortly after this new moon, and that will be representing a period of reflection still, of reconnection, of rethinking, of reassessing something. So we're not quite there yet. We're not quite out of that cocoon. And the imagery of coming out of the cocoon is with the new moon as well. I mean, there's a lot to happen within this lunar cycle that we will be carrying this imagery of the butterfly emerging. So there's something so powerful here. And obviously another word that comes to mind is flourishing. You know, awakening to our potentials and flourishing. And the butterfly obviously is riddled with powerful symbolism connected to transformation, right? It's profound transformation, metamorphosis, rebirth. So resurrection as well. Butterflies are also associated symbolically with freedom and joy, and with a sense of hope as well. All of that is connected to the symbol, you know, the Sabian symbol of this new moon. Very, very powerful, very obvious, very resonant with eclipse season. You know, eclipse is all about stepping into a new phase, rearranging things in a way that makes sense with this new phase as well, right? A sense of detoxing as well. So it's a moment of having insights towards that sense of resurrection. I think that's super powerful. I think that's super relevant. And I just love it. I love when we have these alignments, you know, between the symbols, the transits and everything. So, in terms of the astrological, you know, chart for this new moon, there are also a few things I need to share with you. I need to talk about. One of them is obviously the aspects that this new moon is forming to other planets. And what we have here is a very powerful square to Uranus. So Uranus is a modern ruler of Aquarius. So there's a double flavor of Aquarius here to this new moon, right? And obviously new moons are connected to new beginnings, the beginning of a new lunar cycle, etc. Has a very strong flavor of beginning something. But it also carries an Aquarian flavor, right? That rebellious energy. That willingness to be different, to embrace diversity as well, oddness and all of that. Now, the square to Uranus, one of the keywords that I get here is awakening. Uranus will be very strongly representing awakening, shock, sudden changes. So it would potentially be adding an element of unpredictability to whatever happens during this eclipse season. But also I want you to think about that butterfly imagery throughout this eclipse season, so you don't get lost in the potential losses, right? In the potential ending or the potential chrysalis or cocoon that we leave behind in order to emerge, in order to grow, right? There is a sense of awakening. There is a sense of change that's multiplied here with the square to Uranus. And also another energy that I get here very strongly is that not everyone will approve. Okay, when we have that sort of Aquarius, when we have that square to Uranus, not everyone will be on board with these changes that you want to apply, that you want to embrace in your life. And you know what? That's okay. Because as the holistic psychologist said once, and for me, it's such a wonderful insight, suffering from people pleasing and all of that. Adults are capable of being disappointed. It's not our job to make everybody else happy. And this is something that we need to remember with this new lunar cycle. Not everyone will approve, and that's okay. Not everyone will be on board. Not everyone will agree, will want to do exactly the same, and that's okay. That is okay. In order to become your own authentic, the most authentic version of ourselves, we need to have a healthy relationship with the warrior within, with Mars, so we can separate, so we can walk our path, even if we have to go alone. There is a huge opportunity here for transforming, growing, becoming, etc. But we need to be willing to ruffle a few feathers and to be okay with it. So that's another important point of this full moon and the square to Uranus. And also having Mars and Saturn in Aries and Mars in Aquarius, they're kind of having a relationship, and their planets are a little bit harsher. They really don't care about what other people think, and I see that symbolism there as part of the process, as part of this new moon eclipse and this particular eclipse season as well. Now, the other two aspects that I want to talk about, one is Venus conjoined the North Node. So we have Venus in Pisces at the exact same degree of the North Node of the Moon. So Venus and the North Node at 8 degrees Pisces. Now I think there is an element of spirituality here really strongly connected. Mercury is in trine to Jupiter as well in Cancer. There's a bit of water here as well on that sense of knowing without knowing. I love saying that when I think about the water signs and their style of intuition. And that's really highlighted by that powerful Venus conjoined the North Node, and a sense of evolution, a sense of evolution and growth, which is with that imagery of the butterfly, but also through spiritual beauty and following that path a little bit as well. And finally, the other aspect that's super important here is Saturn and Neptune forming a conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. Now, this is happening. This is going to be a blueprint for this new moon as well. And is worth discussing and reflecting longer than just, this voice note, this little bit of information that I'm giving you here is very, very tiny. And there's no, it's not part of the remit of what we're going to be talking about here. But the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune is very big, is very important. Is a new cycle here between the two. And it will be highlighted by the energy of this eclipse season because it's already happening. It's already on. They're already both at 0 degrees Aries. So something about healing toxic masculinity, spiritual warrior, manifesting dreams here, bringing Saturn to Neptune, or the end of dreams and illusions, Saturn to Neptune, or dissolving certain old structures here as well, Neptune to Saturn. So we definitely have that exchange here of energy. But it's very, very important and is super highlighted with this new moon eclipse. So I had to mention it for you as well. Now, one more thing before I go. The tarot cards here are the star. Again, the star is part, obviously. The star is the star, not start. Star is the card associated with Aquarius, and it will be talking about hopes for the future. We'll be talking about that sense of being part, the stars are part of constellations and groups of people, so groups of like-minded people. So there's a bit of that energy that you can ponder, that you can meditate on, to manifest and to set intentions for this new moon. And the other one would be the Seven of Swords, because 28 degrees Aquarius is the third decan of Aquarius, and the Seven of Swords is the minor arcana card that's associated with that. And again, we have an imagery here for, groups, people, opportunity versus opportunism, right? Being opportunistic and, stabbing people in the back. Like, you really need to look at that picture and see what comes up to you and how do you want to use that energy. Because it's about agency and how you will channel those energies, right? For the common good, which will be the star archetype in connection to Aquarius, or if you're going to try to use that selfishly, which would be a little bit more shadowy, and I would discourage, because if you hurt somebody, you hurt yourself as well, and that's that Venus in Pisces on the North Node as well. So we're all learning that and practicing that. Okay, so that's what I had to share with you about this new moon eclipse. I hope this is a powerful, beautiful new beginning for you, and that you can turn into that beautiful butterfly, however that looks for you in your life right now. And I'm sending you a lot of love, and we'll speak soon. Bye-bye now.